Saleh from Leeds in the UK. He's a senior lecturer in international relations and Middle Eastern studies at the Australian National University. I guess, first of all, 24 hours on from this Iranian attack, having had a little bit of time to reflect on it, what do you make of it, of the scale of the attack, of the weapons used, and of the decision to strike Israeli territory proper in and of itself?
Well, the attack was quite symbolic. Of course, Iran could do a stronger and much more powerful attack if they wanted to. So what happened last night, it was just a message to Tel Aviv and Washington that we are no longer taking the patience strategy or to sit and watch whatever Israel does. Therefore, they are relying on their power. And this is particularly important since the two countries, Israel and its supporter, United States, are a nuclear power. Therefore, the message from Iran was that we are ready to go nuclear if needed. Otherwise, it is quite unwise to invade a nuclear states like Israel, and we know that Israel is fully supported by United States. They are not necessarily respecting international law, not in Gaza, not in Damascus, by attacking the diplomatic places like what happened last week. And as a result, Iran was just trying to manage the tension by making sure that the countries in the region are informed, including Turkey, and also United States is informed. That's what exactly is going to be. The number of drones and missiles are insignificant. They did not make any particular damage to Israel, and therefore it was just a message that, okay, this is what we could do just to show, and from now on, if any further aggression from Israel, there will be more to come.
I mean, obviously, we don't want to jump the gun, but it does seem like Israel is, for now, heeding some of these many calls for de-escalation. First of all, do you agree that that is what's happening? And how difficult do you think that decision was and will continue to be for the Israeli war cabinet?
Well, I think here we see a double standard from the West. None of them has condemned, actually, Israel's attack on a diplomatic building in Damascus last week. And now they are all condemning Iran. Of course, either have done something that breaches the international law, violate international law. However, the West, particularly United States, is not a fair mediator. Israel wants to drag Iran into a war, and that was actually the initial intention when they have invaded the Iranian consulate in Damascus. And they are very happy, actually, with Iran's attack, which did not cost them much apart from money, over $1 billion. However, now they are distracting the attention, diverting the attention from the Gaza war into Iran war. Israel, within a day from a state that was committing war crime in Gaza, now is just turned to be a victim. And of course, Prime Minister Netanyahu, because of his unpopularity both inside the country and internationally, wants to prolong and expand this war to prolong his political life career.
I want to just pick up on two things you said there. First of all, this double standard in the way that international law is understood and applied, which I think is really foundational to many of the things that are going on at the moment. As you say, that Israeli attack on the Iranian consulate in Syria, just not really mentioned, certainly not condemned by most Western powers. Meanwhile, widespread and immediate vocal condemnation of Iran's strikes. And similarly, things, this has been mentioned many times with regards to what's been going on in Gaza. What can the world do about that going forward? We're hearing from the UN right now. What can be done to solve this? Because this is going to continue to infuriate nations, is it not?
Exactly. I mean, it's what we see in the United Nations at the moment is a toothless organization, and it works only the superpowers, great powers wants it to be done, and if anything, otherwise the world is polarized, and it would be quite difficult to see that the Security Council functions from now on, because in one hand we have Russia and China, and the other hand we have three other Western powers, which their interests would be very difficult to see that meets somehow. So we were living in an anarchic system, international system, when only power tells who can do things and who cannot. And what happened, what Iran demonstrated last night, was about power, to show that the balance of power in the region has changed. United States is no longer the major actor in the region. United States has lost Iraq, has lost Afghanistan, has lost Syria, lost Yemen, lost Palestine, and Iran is actually filling the gap, using its own proxies across the region. So this is the last night message was that the Middle East is no longer the same. International system is no longer the same. We have emerging global powers that can challenge the Western hegemony that has been there for 2 centuries.
And I'm just, I'm keeping an eye on what's happening at the UN Security Council. We are waiting for the United States representative to speak. But the second thing I wanted to pick you up on was you said that Israel wants to drag Iran into a war. I suppose if they really wanted to do that, why not retaliate immediately?
They need to. This is not something that the United States wants it. The United States is not ready to fight for Israel. Israel has always wanted to.
Okay, I'm so sorry, Alam. I do want to hear from you, but unfortunately we are hearing from the United States at the Security Council. Let's listen to that.
Was to cause significant damage and death in Israel. It launched over 300 munitions, including more than 100 ballistic missiles and land attack cruise missiles at Israel, as well as explosive unmanned aerial vehicles. Iran's reckless actions not only posed a threat to populations in Israel, but also to other UN member states in the region, including Jordan and Iraq. The Security Council has an obligation to not let Iran's actions go unanswered. Indeed, for far too long, Iran has flagrantly violated its international legal obligations, notably through the actions of its Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC. By arming Hezbollah in violation of Security Council Resolution 1701, by arming, facilitating, and enabling Houthi attacks on Saudi Arabia and the UAE, and, more recently, merchant and commercial shipping in the Red Sea in clear violation of Resolution 2216 and in defiance of Resolution 2722. And of course, Iran transferred Shahed one-way attack drones to Russia, the same drones it used in last night's attacks against Israel, at a time when such transfers were in clear violation of Resolution 2231. In recent years, Iran has also repeatedly violated international law by targeting with mines and seizing commercial ships in international waters of the Persian Gulf and surrounding waterways, just as it did on April 12, when it seized a Portuguese-flagged ship near the Strait of Hormuz. Iran continues to detain both the ships and its crew, comprised of citizens from 5 countries, including Russia. Iran was also, in a broad sense, complicit in the October 7 attack on Israel because it has provided significant funding and training for the military wing of Hamas. This Iranian support contributed to the current crisis in Gaza. Colleagues, these and other reckless Iranian actions are not inherently defensive actions against other member states. Given the threats Iran's aggressive actions pose for international peace and security, we have a collective responsibility as members of the Security Council to ensure that Iran complies with the Council's resolutions and ceases its violations of the Charter. In the coming days, and in consultation with other member states, the United States will explore additional measures to hold Iran accountable here at the United Nations. More immediately, the Security Council must unequivocally condemn Iran's aggressive actions and call for Iran and its partners and proxies to cease their attacks. The United States also supports Israel's exercise of its inherent right to defend itself in the face of this attack. And as President Biden stated, we will remain in close contact with Israel's leaders. And let me be clear. If Iran or its proxies take actions against the United States or further action against Israel, Iran will be held responsible. We note Secretary General Guterres' statement warning that the region is at risk of plunging into a deeper and wider war on multiple fronts. The United States is not seeking escalation. Our actions have been purely defensive in nature. The best way to prevent such escalation is an unambiguous condemnation from the Council of Iran's unprecedented large-scale attack and an unequivocal call on it and its proxies and partners to refrain from further violence. Our goal is to de-escalate and then get back to the issue at hand, securing an end to the conflict in Gaza by getting a ceasefire in Gaza through a hostage deal, as well as surging humanitarian assistance to Palestinians in need. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank the representative of the United States and pass the floor to Ecuador.
Okay, well, that was the United States representative at the UN Security Council speaking there, Robert Wood, saying it is the collective responsibility of nations to make sure Iran complies with UN resolutions and that the Security Council has a responsibility not to let Iran's actions go unanswered. Well, we have been speaking to Saleh, who is a senior lecturer in international relations and Middle Eastern studies at the Australian National University. I wonder, Alem, if you could hear any of that and what you make of the UN, what the US has been saying at the UN Security Council.
Well, first of all, I don't think any resolution will be happening against Iran because either Russia or China or both will veto it for sure. Secondly, I wish someone was there to tell the United States or the representatives that there is no country in the world like the United States that violated international law, human rights, and any other kind of law. And the good example is Israel, that for over half a century is violating international law by occupying territories of 3 neighboring countries, Palestine, Syrian, and also Lebanese territories. Is violating international law and human rights as it is accused of being by the human rights organizations to be an apartheid regime. It's violating international law by killing over 25,000 women and children within 6 months. It's violating international law by using starvation as a weapon against the Palestinians. I hope someone was there to remind them that invading Iraq in 2003 was against the international law and against the Security Council, which led to the death of hundreds of thousands of innocent Iraqis and the emergence of wild terrorist groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda in Iraq and Syria. It's violating international law by occupying lands in Syria. Itself, United States at the moment is based in Syria illegally, according to the international law. So talking about the law, international law, is just laughable and I would say is used whenever they wish, whenever they interpret it the way they wish.
I guess them without sin can cast the first stone. And we're right back there, Alem, to that imbalance of power and to those double standards that we were talking about earlier. Really appreciate you coming on the programme this evening and reacting to everything that's going on with us. Thank you very much.